More than 200,000 people went to Phoenix, Arizona to pay tribute and show respect to the late Charlie Kirk at State Farm Arena. Among them, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Vice President of the United States J.D. Vance, the majority of the cabinet, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and of course, President Donald Trump himself, who gave a very heartfelt and emotional speech recounting personal stories that he had and personal insights into Charlie Kirk's life. And of course, he paid tribute to and respect to Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow.
A special thank you to Erica, because today America is a nation in grief, a nation in shock, and a nation in mourning. Less than 2 weeks ago, our country was robbed of one of the brightest lights of our times, a giant of his generation, and above all, a devoted husband, father, son, Christian, and patriot. Charles James Kirk was heinously murdered by a radicalized, cold-blooded monster for speaking the truth that was in his heart. He was violently killed because he spoke for freedom and justice, for God, country, for reason, and for common sense. He was assassinated because he lived bravely, he led boldly, and he argued brilliantly without apology. He did what was right for our nation. And so on that terrible day, September 10th, 2025, our greatest evangelist for American liberty became immortal. He's a martyr now for American freedom. I know I speak for everyone here today when I say that none of us will ever forget Charlie Kirk, and neither now will history.
He is a historic figure drawing massive crowds, not just at the State Farm Arena, but worldwide. Turning Point USA estimates over 100 million people watched their online broadcast. Pretty much everybody was glued to some kind of screen yesterday watching statesmen and friends and family members, people he worked with at Turning Point USA, one by one stand up to the microphone and share their stories of Charlie Kirk, one of the most Christ-like men they've ever met. Somebody who left everybody better off than he found them. And so many people saying, if it weren't for Charlie Kirk, I don't know where my life would have been. President Donald Trump saying that Charlie Kirk was one of the reasons that he was brought together with so many folks, so many powerful people in Washington. Half of his cabinet owe their jobs to Charlie Kirk. And of course, Charlie Kirk's funeral even reunited President Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who had a very famous falling out a few months ago. Elon Musk making some kind of amends, it appears, with the president there at Charlie Kirk's funeral. It was one of the many incredible things that we saw and one of the many incredible things that we heard. President Donald Trump also said, look, what Charlie Kirk did, what he was killed for, is the pinnacle not just of our democracy or our republic, but of our society globally.
Condition of reason and open debate that Charlie practiced is not a pillar of our democracy. In many ways, it's the basis of our entire society. It's the right and inheritance of every free American, the greatest legacy of the Enlightenment, and among the most treasured achievements of civilization. We will defend it at all costs, and we will carry forward the torch of liberty that Charlie Kirk held so proud and so high. He was so proud. And he did hold that torch high. We will never, ever let it fail. We will never let it fail. But we're going to raise it higher than ever before. It's going to be raised, and this is the beginning.
This is the beginning. This is something that is not over. This has just begun. And if you look at the messaging, if you look at the people that talked at this event yesterday, and if you look at some of the comments online and some of the takeaways from the folks who were there live, they said this is truly the beginning. So many people born again into their Christian faith. So many people inspired to become not just Christians, but evangelists, because evangelism is exactly what Charlie Kirk preached. It's exactly what he exercised every single day. And he knew that's exactly how you change the evil people into God-fearing people. You change those folks who are lost, who have no way, who have no moral compass. That's how you turn them into people that are truly children of God. President Donald Trump mentioned some of those evil, twisted people in his speech and took more of a crusader approach to them.
Over the last 11 days, we have heard stories of commentators, influencers, and others in our society who greeted his assassination with sick approval, excuses, or even jubilation. You've heard that. So have I. Couldn't believe it. Some of the very same people who spent the last 8 years trying to sit in moral judgment of anyone who disagreed with them about politics suddenly started cheering for a murder. Incredible. You know the names. They're major losers, by the way. That will be proven out in a short period of time. Some of the very people who call you a hater for using the wrong pronoun were filled with glee at the killing of a father with 2 beautiful young children. And the same commentators who this week are screaming fascism over a canceled late-night TV show where the anchor had no talent and no ratings. Last week were implying that Charlie Kirk deserved what happened to him.
Yeah, it is truly a bizarre dichotomy in the United States of America, especially when you see the hundreds of thousands of folks who came out to praise God, to pray with each other, to peacefully remember Charlie Kirk. When you juxtapose that to the anger and the divisiveness and the destruction of the other side of the aisle of the left, it truly is bizarre, and it truly is. It's a little disgusting and disturbing, but also gives you quite a bit of hope that eventually evil will be overcome by good. And Stephen Miller, who was not just the deputy chief of staff in charge of immigration and a key player in President Donald Trump's White House, but a good personal friend of Charlie Kirk, shared that more, as I said, crusader mission. Instead of evangelism, Stephen Miller wants everybody to know that we have not yet even begun to fight against evil in this country.
We'll defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy. And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion. You cannot defeat us, you cannot slow us, you cannot stop us, you cannot deter us. We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder because of what you did to us. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic.
That is something that, of course, many of us have been dedicating our lives to for at least the last 10 years. And with Charlie Kirk's murder, we seem to now have a much larger army with which to fight for the safety, the sanctity, and the future of the United States of America. And Stephen Miller, I think, put it perfectly. Yes, you can be a missionary, but sometimes you need to be a crusader. Yes, you want to rule with love, but you also cannot let hate overcome. And whenever and wherever there is a battle between good and evil, we will continue to stand up and fight. That was one of Donald Trump's parting messages too, was no matter where you are, No matter what you do, never underestimate your ability to make positive change in this world.
The lesson of Charlie's life is that you should never underestimate what one person can do with a good heart, a righteous cause, a cheerful spirit, and the will to fight.
Yeah.
Have to fight.
You got to fight. Charlie fought, President Donald Trump fought, and now Erica Kirk, his widow, fights. And she had one of the most memorable moments of the entire event. She stood forward and she first said, look, one of the things that has been beneficial, or one of the silver linings to this dark, dark cloud that hangs over her and her life and her family, is the outpouring of mercy and love that have been revealed.
Most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. After Charlie's assassination, we didn't see violence. We didn't see rioting. We didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what my husband always prayed he would see in this country. We saw revival.
And then, of course, she did what the best Christians do, is she publicly professed forgiveness for Charlie Kirk's killer.
Most of all, God's mercy and God's love have been revealed to me these past 10 days. That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Everybody in the entire arena standing up and cheering and applauding, and I have to imagine all the people watching at home, all 100 million of them, truly affected and moved in that one moment. It was something that only Charlie Kirk could do, not just in life, but in death. And somehow, ironically, or in some true divine intervention, Charlie Kirk's death was able to draw together millions and millions of people, more so than he ever had at one single rally or event when he was alive. The leaders of the free world all together and publicly professing their faith. It's a new world that we live in today. This United States of America is different. Before today, or before yesterday rather, you didn't have the Vice President of the United States, for example, coming up and openly professing his faith. Today, that's exactly the world we live in.
I was telling somebody backstage that I always felt a little uncomfortable talking about my faith in public, as much as I loved the Lord and as much as it was an important part of my life. I have talked more about Jesus Christ in the past 2 weeks than I have my entire time in public life.
I mean, that is truly an incredible notion that the Vice President of the United States says, I never really felt comfortable talking about Jesus Christ here in the United States. I never really felt comfortable sharing my faith with people as an elected official, as a public servant. And now I've spoken more about Jesus Christ publicly than I have in my entire life. In the last 2 weeks, I have professed my faith more than I ever have. And that's the Vice President of the United States and potentially the future President of the United States. And those were words that were echoed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who also is rumored to be have a bright future ahead of him. And Marco Rubio said, look, it is Charlie Kirk died so that we can all follow in his footsteps. And that is exactly what we need to do.
One of the things he wants us to take away from this, from all of this, is the following. His deep belief that we were all created, every single one of us, before the beginning of time, by the hands of the God of the universe, an all-powerful God, who loved us and created us for the purpose of living with him in eternity. But then sin entered the world and separated us from our Creator. And so God took on the form of a man and came down and lived among us. And he suffered like men. And he died like a man. But on the third day, he rose unlike any mortal man. And to prove any doubters wrong, he ate with his disciples so they could see, and they touched his wounds. He didn't rise as a ghost or as a spirit, but as flesh. And then he rose to the heaven, but he promised he would return, and he will. And when he returns, because he took on that death, because he carried that cross, we were freed from the sin that separated us from him. And when he returns, there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and we will all be together, and we are going to have a great reunion there again with Charlie and all the people we love. Thank you, and God bless you.
That is not a Baptist minister. That is not a priest or reverend. That is the Secretary of State of the United States of America, Marco Rubio, former senator. That is an official in the United States political administration of President Donald Trump. And he is openly giving testimony and preaching the gospel to hundreds of millions of people, both in person and worldwide. And he's doing it unapologetically and without shame. And that is something we have never seen in this country, and we never would have seen in this country again if it weren't for Charlie Kirk. There is a lot that happened over the weekend. There's a lot that's happening this week. President Donald Trump is headed to the UN General Assembly, where he will speak later today about all kinds of things. We imagine the war in Gaza with the Palestinians and Israel. We imagine he's going to they'll be discussing the war in Ukraine. We imagine tariffs will be a big topic of conversation, and probably immigration here at home. At the same time, we also know that he's got a huge announcement with Health and Human Services Director Robert F. Kennedy Jr. coming up later today regarding autism and how to potentially stop it from spreading the way it's been spreading over the past few decades. And on top of all that, President Donald Trump yesterday posted something on Truth Social, which makes it seem like he's really losing patience with his Attorney General and his Department of Justice, and that the gloves are off and he's really ready to start taking on and tackling those folks who have weaponized the government against him. President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, Pam, meaning Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. I reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. Then we almost put a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do his job. That's why two of the worst Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to the media and said he quit and that we had no case. No, I fired him. And there is a great case, and many layers and legal pundits say so. Lindsay is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. President Donald J. Trump. President Donald J. Trump answering the critics openly, criticizing his own Department of Justice, openly criticizing his own Attorney General, saying the time for talk is over. We need actions. It's the same old story. People are mocking us online, and we need to let them know that we are working hard to bring justice to those people who have bastardized our political system, who have weaponized our government, and who have sought to get rid of their political allies by any means necessary. Donald Trump is ramping up the fight over all of these fake charges and indictments and impeachments, and the Democrats who levied them, Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler, James Comey, the Clintons. I imagine now this week, the Department of Justice will be pushed into high gear. Also, there's a government shutdown looming. There's a lot, like I said, to get to, and that's why we have a second daily podcast. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. It's a 1-hour podcast, sometimes more, often more, that starts at 1 p.m. Eastern time, live streaming everywhere. Or if you prefer, you can always download it on your favorite podcast platform. Best thing to do, go to markkaye.com, markkaye.com. Hit the big red button that says, I want the podcast. Download, subscribe, listen, and enjoy.